Permaban Yuumi, Permaban Yuumi, Permaban Yuumi. What's up, GameLeap? Is this the Jizz? In today's video, and after today's video, if you guys aren't permabanning Yuumi, because we're starting a petition made on this channel, we're gonna get this champion banned so she gets deleted from the game, or so she's actually targetable when she's actually on the rip. So make sure you guys do that for the rest of 13.5 and in 13.6, even if she's getting nerfed. And yeah, welcome guys to the tier list for 13.6 based off the changes we saw a couple of days ago on Twitter by the Riot devs. So in today's video, yeah, you're gonna get the best champions, the worst champions for each role. And if you guys actually want more of these fast food videos where, yeah, they're not actually going to help you improve, but leave a like down below if you actually do want these videos to continue. But if you do want to improve in the game, like I had someone recently comment, I'll buy the course if you can actually help me get to D1+. Bro, I've coached people to rank 1 EU West. If you are in Diamond, Platinum, Gold, like what do you think that knowledge is going to do to you? You can climb tiers by just watching a couple of my videos on our website, GameLeap.com. Description, comment section, they will help you out so much. People have actually just climbed like 2 tiers from watching them. So what are you guys missing out on? Get the knowledge ASAP and get out of elo hell. But yeah, let's start guys by talking about the top lane tier list for 13.6. And in 13.6, one champion in particular is getting some buffs that are going to make her Giga OP, this being Vayne. That's why she's in Yuumi tier, so the most broken tier, along with Darius, Jax, Malphite. So Darius, Jax, Malphite, I don't really think we have to talk too much about the recent changes to these champions, so Jax and Malphite. Darius has really just been like a mainstay top laner, as one of the best anyway, since 12.10 when the durability meta came into play. And in this patch 13.6, Vayne is getting some huge buffs. So passive movement speed is increasing by 50%. The Q attack damage ratio is increasing by 15% early game up to 35% late game. The buff duration is lasting a little bit shorter, and the HP damage from your W is increasing at earlier ranks but is decreasing late game. But late game you'll still have all the tank shred you need, whether it's like Bork, Ginsu's, I don't know, Kraken Slayer, whatever it is you build in this champion, you'll be sweet by that point. So these buffs have just made Vayne go from like maybe A tier all the way into broken tier. Now other champions getting buffed or nerfed in the top lane, there's actually just 0, but there are going to be some champions indirectly benefiting from some of the changes in 13.6, namely Nash's Tooth. So for Nash's Tooth, the ability haste, well, it's actually going up from 0 to 15, so you're now getting haste from the item. But the total cost is going up by 200 gold, so it's now going to be 3,200 gold in total. So for some champions, this is actually going to like benefit them. So if we look at some of the low-key broken champions here, so I think Gwen will enjoy this, and I also think Teemo will enjoy this, especially because ability haste is an important stat on him, getting more mushrooms around the map in the late game once you get Leandra's Anguish right, if you're not going Riftmaker that is. But yeah, I think these two champions will benefit the most from a Nash's Tooth change. Kayle, I don't think is going to appreciate this because ability haste, you don't care about it, which is why she's only in B tier. Now other champions in low-key broken, we will elaborate on all of these in a future video, but we have Kled, Quinn, Rumble because of the recent changes, we have Silas here as well, and then Vladimir. Again, these might have some like particular builds that you have to go that make them low-key broken, and again, I will explain what these builds might be and the reason they're low-key broken. But yeah, those are the top laners, guys. Apart from that, not much has really changed all too much. GP has dropped like a stone in this patch because of all the nerfs, right? You can see how many kegs he's got, the grass changes. I mean, you can go first strike, right? But GP is just a lot harder to pilot. And of course, the passive damage nerf and the barrel nerf as well, where it's a flat 18 seconds recharge time. They've actually just seen his win rate drop like 4-5% across the majority of elos. And we also have Yorick in C tier as well, who's dropped like a stone too. He's also going to be affected by the Bloodthirster and Bloodline nerfs in this patch if you are going like lifesteal Yorick. So it's a pretty sad day for Gravediggers. Just make sure you guys aren't playing Aurelion Sol in the top lane. He is getting nerfed in this patch, and we'll get into what those nerfs are when we talk about the mid lane tier list. And the Nash's Tooth tier list is sponsoring the worst tier. I think the changes to Nash's Tooth, well, they are benefiting some champions, don't get me wrong, but I don't really understand why they did this. Maybe they're trying to make Azir like worth again, but that was the top lane tier list, guys, for 13.6. Now, speaking of the mid lane, guys, let's actually head there and talk about some mid lane champions who are getting changed in 13.6. The first of these being Talon. That's why he's in broken tier. That's why he's in Yuumi tier. And no doubt some of you Talon mains are going to be like, how can you put him in here when he's only getting a few buffs? But these buffs I think are significant. Your base mana increasing, the W's mana cost decreasing. This is going to help your wave clear in early game. Okay, so during the laning phase, you can actually get to level 6 and beyond without actually being too far behind. And that's even if you are behind. Also, your passive damage increasing, especially in the mid to late game. Using your passive as Talon is pretty much everything, and good Talon players, I think, are just going to froth this. This extra 25 damage in the late game is going to be big, and it's going to mean you're going to get more kills out of it. Also, your ultimate's damage increasing from level 11 onwards, I also think is big. I just think this champion was already kind of in like a good spot. Yes, he wasn't amazing, don't get me wrong, but I think these are going to push him into OP tier, and he's probably going to become the best attack damage mid laner out of the bunch. Of course, we have Aurelia to think about as well. You can see her alongside Talon. And then we also have Annie and Aurelion Sol, who is getting nerfed. So for Aurelion Sol, it takes longer for you to get your ultimate upgrade. The knockup duration, the stun duration in your ultimate, these are also going down to 1 second. Your E's cooldown is now going to be a flat 12 seconds. The cast range on both your ultimate ultimates, these are going to be smaller as well. So what is really going for Aurelion Sol next patch? Well, it's just the fact you can go Roa and Rylai's, and you're still going to deal pretty much exactly the same damage as you were before. There are no damage nerfs. There are no real HP nerfs as well. So you're still going to have a lot of HP once your Roa gets stacking. And yeah, I just think like in most elos, the champion is still going to be too oppressive because games are always going to go like into the late game, which is where this champion just thrives, and he's very hard to compete with. Laning phase, of course you have some big counters. Aurelion might be one, Talon, Yone, these assassins who can jump onto you, but once you do get to those 2-item spikes, so Roa and Rylai's, the Celestial Dragon is too much to handle still. Now also in the mid lane, we have Galio who's getting buffed. Your E's cooldown is now going down, and your W's damage reduction is just, well, increasing, I guess, and also increasing based off your magic resistance, but I think these buffs are pretty placebo. This is why Galio is staying in A tier. We also have Veigar who's getting nerfs, so your base HP is going down, your base armor is going down, so both of these mean your early laning phase is weaker, and against attack damage champions in particular, you're going to take more damage, but even against range mages, those auto attacks are going to mean more as well. Now your W's damage is decreasing in the early game and increasing in the late game, but for Veigar, I don't think this will be too huge, because yeah, the fact that your Q and your W's range is still the same after the recent buffs, you can actually just farm from afar. Doesn't really matter like how much your armor or magic resistance or even HP get changed, because you should be kind of chilling until the mid to late game. You're still not going to rack up that many deaths. That's why he's in A tier in 13.6. And kind of like the top lane guys, if we look at low-key broken champions for 13.6, we have a few Nash's Tooth abusers. We have Kai'Sa coming in hot because 100 AP, that's one of your evolutions. The attack speed helps another one of your evolutions. Then we have Varus as well. I think Nash's 2 Varus in the mid lane could be legit with the extra ability haste you're getting. So Kai'Sa and Varus, because they want to spam their spells a lot, this is gonna be big, and I think they're actually gonna be low-key broken. You probably do want to be picking Kai'Sa though in particular into a pretty free lane, because our laning phase is a bit weaker than Varus's, so do be careful of that. Then we also have Kassadin, Malphite and low-key broken. Then we also have Twisted Fate and Zoe, and again guys, I will elaborate on these in a future video, so make sure your fingers get clicking on that subscribe button. Hurry up, let's go. Other champions affected in 13.6. Well, GP, like we mentioned for top lane, all the way down to C tier, and you can see in Nash's Tooth tier, we have Azir. I don't care if Nash's Tooth is getting buffed for Azir, you know, you're getting extra ability haste. Does it really mean that much? Well, it used to give you 20% cooldown reduction, and it was a really nice kind of like feel item, I guess, on Azir. The champion is just so bad after the recent changes. You have no mana in the early game, your laning phase isn't really a laning phase, and you're just playing the game based off hope, and guess what? That means you're going to have a 40% win rate. Well done, balanced team. Apart from that, guys, that's about it for the mid lane. Everything else is largely staying the same. Of course, the recent changes to Cosmic Drive have meant champions like Vladimir's gone up. You can even think of building Cosmic Drive on Fizz, that's why he's in S tier, and you, don't actually have to go any of the mana mythics anymore, which is really good. Rumble's shot all the way up to S tier because he's such a high pressure early game champion, especially with the new E damage you're getting. It's like a free void staff. So yeah, that is the mid lane tier list. And again, guys, any questions about any of these picks, let us know in the comment section. Now let's move into the last solo role of the game, being the jungle. In broken tier and Yuumi tier, Echo, Evelynn, bit of J4, mate, a bit of Lee Sin, the Conqueror AD champions, a bit of J4 and Lee Sin. We also have Evelynn. She's here because of just stats, I guess. Incredibly broken champion in pretty much every single elo. Make sure you play her. Might need a bit of practice. Sign up to our GameLeap website so you get all the Evelynn videos you need. And Echo is here because of Nash's Tooth. Nash's Tooth is such a crucial item on jungle Echo. That's why in the mid lane, him and Diana didn't actually go up too much because Nash's Tooth in the mid lane, well, it's not as important. In the jungle, you need clear, right? Also, it's really nice for taking dragons and objectives and stuff like this. So Echo, because the Nash's Tooth buff with extra ability haste, big for this champion. He's in broken tier. Now, other jungle champions getting changed in 13.6, there are none of them. So that means pretty much this tier list has stayed largely the same once again from last patch. But in low-key broken, what champions can you see? AP champions. Diana, Gwen, and Shyvana. What are these champions going to be building in 13.6? Nash's Tooth, extra ability haste. This is what these champions want. There might even be some other champions here who might want to abuse the item. Maybe there's something like AP Volley Bear, maybe even in the top lane, but top lane volley is kind of trash. But in the jungle, it might open him up to more builds. But yeah, apart from Nash's Tooth changing, guys, there isn't really much to talk about for the jungle. Dragon is receiving some nerfs, so the dragon kill buffs are actually decreasing by around 10 to 15%, but that's about it. So if you're playing a champion unaffected by any of this, keep playing them. No reason not to. Now moving down to the bot lane, where perhaps some of the biggest changes are happening in 13.6. So before we actually get into the tier list, we have to talk about BT, which is getting nerfed, right? So the shield is going down. Navori Quick Blades, the cooldown is going down from 15% to 12%. Lethal Tempo is getting nerfed in the early game, and Bloodline is getting nerfed as well. So all of these changes mean that if you're a Lethal Tempo AD carry, if you're going Bloodthirster as an AD carry, if you're a Navori Quickblades AD carry, if you're a Bloodline AD carry, you will be hit. I should have mentioned as well, guys, Navori Quickblades getting nerfed means that GP and Tryndamere will be hit by this as well. So GP, honestly, I could even put him in Nash's Tooth tier, and Tryndamere, yes, he was in low-key broken, and I still think he is kind of low-key broken. They are going to feel this. But anyway, the AD carry tier list. In Yuumi 2, we have Jinx, Xayah, Veigar, Zeri. Veigar's getting nerfed. It doesn't matter for the bot lane. I don't care. Your armor can be 0. He's still going to be so broken. Then we have Jinx. The recent buffs for her, she's an S+ tier champion. She has to be in here. Same for Xayah as well. Even though you're copying it a little bit because Navori Quickblades is getting nerfed, and the recent nerfs to you yourself, with your E cooldown going up and the damage getting reduced, this has affected Xayah, but in the bot lane, it's so engaging in close range at the moment, Xayah froths it. The Blade Caller, the ultimate, oh, it's just so good for you. It's like heaven at the moment. Keep on spamming it. Then we have Zeri as well. This champion, like, I don't care, guys, what elo you're playing in. Like, if you just watch someone like Guma Yusi, if you watch a Challenger AD carry, a good AD carry, even if they're like, I don't know, Diamond or Master Plus, the champion is... oh, it's so frustrating to play against, especially now because Yuumi has become meta all of a sudden because she's so broken. Please permaban her, remember that. So Zeri is in Yuumi 2 as well. Draven, Sivir, Twitch in S tier. Then in low-key broken, Nash's Tooth again. Remember, Kai'Sa and Varus, exactly the same as the mid lane tier list. They're in low-key broken for AD carry, the AP variant of these champions. Then we have Vayne next to them because of the buffs that are hitting her as well, and she'll be a good flex pick because she might be going to the top lane. Apart from that, guys, it's very standard. Just probably don't play those champions in C tier. So Aphelios, Caitlyn has really copped it because of the base attack damage nerfs and the base armor nerfs, right? And then we have Ezreal as well. Of course, you can pick these in certain compositions. Like, you might want to pick Aphelios with a Thresh, for instance. You might want to pick Caitlyn with some sort of pokey champion like Karma or Lux, and Ezreal with the same thing, or maybe a Yuumi and you just weak side bot lane. So there are certain compositions and teammates you can pick these champions with, but for the most part, pick a champion in maybe A tier and above, and you should be chilling. Now, the final role to talk about in 13.6, man, I love fast food, eh? Just like going through champions. Like, you guys, I can just feel it, actually. You guys are still going to be the same either. I don't even know why I'm doing this. So there's the support tier list. That's it. I'm done by. No, I'm joking. I'll go into a little bit of detail here. But yeah, Annie, going to be broken. Emax, just remember that. Blitzcrank, Nautilus, and Yuumi. Yuumi, I don't care if she's getting nerfed. I'm not even going to talk about what the nerfs are. She's going to be in this tier until I see 100% ban rate, all right? In every single elo. I'm salty about it. I know I am, but that's the way the Jizz is going to roll for now. In S tier, pretty much exactly the same from last patch. Pyke, Renata, Rakan, Senna, Thresh. These are still exceptionally good champions. And as far as that goes, the rest of the tier list is largely the same from last patch because there are no real changes to support role. Low-key broken, we have champions who love champions who are going to engage onto them. That's really what the meta at the moment is in the bot lane. So Bel'Veth, Fiddlesticks, Swain, Zac, great champions, right, when there is a bit of engage in the bot lane. I'll probably just say the only thing here about Zac is that you want to be playing against a mobile champions. So if you're playing against like a Lucian or an Ezreal, it's going to be really annoying to play Zac. Even Kai'Sa can be very hard in the mid to late game, right? So be careful about just like, yeah, blind picking him if you see mobility in the bot lane, but for the most part, a really underrated support. Elsewhere, we have Ashe, who's gone all the way down to C tier. Oh yeah, and I should also mention, guys, that Ashe is actually getting buffed the AD carry role. So as far as your passive damage goes, it is going up by 5%, but the only issue here for Ashe is that, well, your W's damage got hit pretty hard. Your ultimate's cooldown went up as well. So for Ashe as an AD carry, even though they were meant to target you support Ashe, they have actually kind of like rolled over to the AD carry role. And that's why she was only in A tier. But yeah, as a support, she's still going to be pretty bad because of the nerfs to her support form. So that's why she's C tier. And yeah, just make sure you guys aren't playing the Nash's Tooth tier champions, Azir, Caitlyn, Kalista. You know, you guys are trying to be like carrier. There is only one carrier in the world, and these only work in particular compositions. And you really have to like, yeah, just know how to play the map on these champions because one def and a GG. But anyway, those were the tier list, guys, for 13.6. Let me know in the comment section any comments, of course, funnily enough, that you might have. Drop them down below. Leave a like on the video if you want the Jizz to continue making these videos, and I will see you on our next Season 13 upload. Bye.